Welcome back. Are we approaching the end of the coal era? Production of fossil fuels is expected to decline as the world turns to more and more cleaner sources of energy. And now researchers here in Israel have developed a new fossil fuel alternative, some of which, well, you might hesitate before you call it cleaner energy, even though it really is. Our culture correspondent Maya Margit has more in this report.
Fossil fuels, the largest source of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and the leading cause of air pollution around the globe. But now Israeli scientists believe they've found a viable alternative: chicken poo power. So how do scientists turn animal waste into energy? By treating it, then burning it, creating biomass fuel.
We're taking wet waste, wet poultry litter, we introduce it into a pressure cooker, so to speak, and we heat it to up to 250 degrees Celsius. During this process, the water is becoming really reactive, and the chemical processes occurring in this pressure cooker convert the organic waste into coal-like material.
Though most of the world still relies on fossil fuels, studies show that renewable energy, gas and nuclear power will be the fastest growing forms of energy in the decades to come. Chicken poop may be part of the solution. In fact, it could replace 10% of the coal that's used in power plants to produce electricity.
We still rely a lot on fossil fuels, and this is something that is leading to climate change, and we want to move away from it. Using waste is ideal because it's already being produced anyway. We consume a lot of meat, chicken meat, for example, and we're consuming more and more. So this waste is going to be here, the amounts are going to be growing, and we need a solution.
The process kills two birds with one stone. It gets rid of poultry waste, and it's an alternative energy source, which means maybe, just maybe, poop will help save the planet.
Yes, and our culture correspondent Maya Margit joins us in studio now. Maya, I'm certainly not going to have chicken for dinner tonight after this report, but we began discussing before we saw the report there are other sources of clean energy. Maybe let's elaborate on them aside from chicken droppings.
Right, aside from that one. So the most used form of renewable energy is hydropower. This is water power, hydroelectricity. The second most used is wind, followed by solar, and then it's biopower, which is what we just saw, biomass, produced from animal waste or plants. And some of the more quirky uses of energy right now that I've seen, for instance, in the UK, there is a swimming pool that's powered by a crematorium nearby, which the heat produced from the burning of bodies heats the pool nearby in that area.
I find that a little disquieting.
Absolutely.
It's a little bit disturbing, but you know, it's an efficient use of energy apparently. And another use of energy is body heat. So in Sweden, in Stockholm, Sweden, at the central station, they're using the body heat of commuters to heat the building nearby. And something I read that is quite funny is that if you took the body heat of 44,000 people, you could mine for 1 Bitcoin per month, which a Bitcoin, you know, is worth a lot of money right now. I think today it's worth $16,000 or something like that. So if you could harvest the heat of 44,000 human beings in 1 month, you would have 1 Bitcoin.
Maya, I don't want to poo-poo this idea too much, and forgive me, but fossil fuels is still. I mean, I think she even says it in the scientist says it in your report, is still really where the world is placing its reliance.
Right. So I mean, there is some good news. You know, like it's not all good news, but some of it is good. In 2016, basically for the first time, the U.S. used 10% of its energy came from wind and solar, which is the first time this happens. But overall, across the world, 85% of all of our energy comes from fossil fuels, from dirty sources of energy like coal, for instance, especially.
And oil, obviously.
And oil, of course, as well. They are saying that by 2040, this could drop to 75% or even 60% if we move to more renewable sources of energy. I mean, it's a big source of debate for people because certain countries are moving towards these renewable energy sources while others that don't have as much money or developing countries are not. So, for instance, in India, the use of coal has gone up, while in other countries it's gone down.
Because the economy is developing so quickly.
Right, so in
there.
China it's gone down, but in other countries it's gone up. So it's kind of like counterbalancing like that. It's hard to say what will happen, but you know, even though cars, for instance, are moving from a combustion oil engine to electric vehicles, that electricity has to come from somewhere. And right now it's still coming from coal. It's still coming from dirty sources of energy.
Well, Kalev, I think from hearing what Maya's saying, all we need is the body heat of everyone here in this building at I-24 News. We could make it big on Bitcoin.
Exactly.
We could make it big.
That was the point of this.
Or we could power the studio, make this a clean studio.
That would be a welcome
which would be a
change,
welcome
indeed,
change,
yes.
indeed. Okay, Maya Margit, thank you for joining us with that very interesting story there. And on that note, we're going to end the first hour of the rundown, but please, we'll be back with